So good morning, everybody, and this is a very exciting, I suppose, start to a fairly major project that the Construction Industry Federation and our members are involved in, and it's nice to be involved in something that's positive for a change. We've been so focused on COVID-19 and all the impact of COVID-19 over the last couple of months. But this is very much a forward-looking project, a very positive project for the construction industry. Prior to COVID hitting us, the construction industry was growing at 1,000 people per month. And one of our major concerns was where we were going to get the competent people to keep the industry going and deliver on the National Development Plan and all that goes with that. So one of the, just if I can give a little bit of a background to this before we kind of move on to give you details of what we're doing. And I suppose I skipped one thing I should maybe introduce to people who were involved. Firstly, myself, Dermot Carey is my name. I'm Director of Safety and Training at the Construction Industry Federation. We also have with us here today Allison Watson. Allison will introduce herself in a couple of minutes, but Allison has many, many years experience in the construction industry in the UK, and very much so in the delivery of similar type of projects in the UK. So thanks for joining us, Allison. We also have Shane. Shane is our Director of Communications. Obviously, Shane has been very much involved in developing the whole promotion and PR, and will be very much pushing the involvement of members and indeed schools the next couple of months. And last but not least, Denise Duffy. Denise has been managing the project to date and will be very much the contact for many of you who will be involved in this in the near future. So maybe I'll just give a little bit of background. I'll hand over to Shane then to give his perspective on things, and then we might talk through what exactly is going on and what we're asking you to do. So just a little bit in the background, as I mentioned at the start, this is part of a major campaign that the Construction Industry Federation, through its education committee, has been developing to try and attract young people into the industry. As you all know, that's not easy. There are many industries who are trying to attract people in, and we're only one of many. So therefore, we need to demonstrate how exciting the industry is, all the vast level of opportunities that are there. And Shane might talk to you a little bit about the research we've done prior to this. So I suppose also I have to thank all of those of you who generously have donated to this project in order to get it off the ground, and there are many members who have fundraised and provided us with the funding in order to get this off the ground. So maybe I might ask just to call in somebody else in this, called Shane, give you his perspective on what we're doing and the exciting project we're involved in.
Listen, it's great to have you on board, and I suppose we shouldn't ever start with an apology, but we're sorry it's so long since you probably heard about this campaign and competition to this morning. But you know, the story about the swan, you know, it's gliding gracefully over the lake, but underneath the legs are paddling furiously. Well, that's the other way around with us. The swan is under the water and the legs have been up in the air going like Billy-O between Denise, myself, Dermot and Allison. So we have been working really hard to pull something really exciting together. And I think you can see on the slide here that even now there's a huge amount of work coming to light, and I'll draw your attention, I suppose, to the logos that are involved there. You know, the techno teachers, the trade union, the TUI, the guidance counsellors, and the engineering technology teachers. So look, that's a great stable of supporters who are, you know, helping us promote the competition throughout the education system to give it the best chance to take a bed in there. So that's, you know, that's really positive. We've Allison obviously on board as well, with huge experience in this area. So there's a lot of work going on. There's 80 partners within the CIF who funded this. So we have a major campaign here. So I won't go into the logistics. I leave that with Dermot and Allison. All I'd say is a dimension of this is for you as the member or a participating company to build PR and reputation and relationships with the local school and the local politician throughout the course of this competition. So it's a big opportunity. We've designed it so that you can benefit from a PR point of view, and in doing so, the whole industry benefits. So in really simple terms, when this brief, which has been sent to all the schools and all the teachers and the techno teachers and so on, when that lands in with those schools, we'd like you to take the information you get today and approach people you know in schools already, or if you haven't done so, you know, take this as an opportunity to approach a local school and say, do you know this competition is being run? If any of your students want to participate, we're here to help. So your role is really to, whether you're a home builder or a civil engineering contractor or whatever it is, don't let the brief scare you. It's quite simple. We just need you to use your expertise to help school teams over the next 6 months or so as they design this competition. So that's the opportunity. There's all sorts of hashtags and social media, you know, stuff in here where you can build, you know, your communities online and ours. And if you do something with a school, you know, and you take a picture or a video or whatever may be going on, there's a picture of the local school, we'll put it through our social media channels, which will amplify out your brand, your reputation, and the good work you're doing. And we'll work out something with local press as well. So at the end of this, we'll send a note on how to build a bit of PR and social media around this. And we'll be we're at your service for the duration of the campaign at challenge@cif.ie. So the three of us, Dermot, myself, and Denise, maybe Alison as well, will be at the end of that email, helping you engage and advising you throughout. So Denise is going to if you're interested, we'll connect you with a school. And if you're a CIF member in a particular area and a school is interested, they'll let us know and we'll try and connect that school to you. So she's going to be doing an awful lot of matchmaking over the next couple of months. So look, that's it. It's a brilliant initiative. But I suppose my role, if you need me, is to help you build the PR and social media profile around the work that goes on through the competition.
Thanks, Shane. And just to add to what Shane mentioned there, we have done an awful lot of work in the background here to work with the teachers groups, Teachers Union of Ireland. The Techno Teachers Group are a group that teach construction studies and technology, engineering teachers group that teach engineering studies and design, communications and graphics. Obviously the Institute of Guidance Counsellors. So all of those groups are on board with us. So we're pushing on an open door here, and they've agreed to promote this amongst their teachers. And indeed, only as late as yesterday, once we had this circulated to teachers, the TUI were back to me indicating that they were excited to get involved. So we're in a very strong position here at the moment to grow the numbers of people who are involved or interested in construction. Maybe at this point, I might just introduce Allison Watson. Allison has years of experience in the education and the construction and putting the two together. Allison, and maybe you might give us a little perspective from your perspective.
Welcome everybody. It's really nice to be here. And you know, Shane's right about the upturned swan. I mean, you know, I've never known such commitment to really get this right. It's been a fantastic experience. It's taken months to plan. So I really hope that you'll get everybody involved in joining us. I've been at this now for, well, yes, 11 years as class of your own. But before that, I was a land surveyor since the age of 24 when I discovered the construction industry by chance. I'll not go into that boring story, but we can chat over a beer maybe when COVID's over and we can get to Ireland. But certainly, you know, I think that first meeting with young people when I was working on a major schools program here in the UK as a surveyor, and you realise how much influence just even, you know, 10 minutes of your time can have on children. And it's kind of that thought that, you know, use that time well, because you can either put them off or inspire them to see the opportunity that actually is. And hopefully this competition will help you do that, because certainly that's what happened to me. I was in a playground surrounded by kids. I realized how little they actually knew and how much they weren't being told, because the teachers knew very little too. So we're here to change all that. So think about this as an opportunity not only to do something great to bring education and industry together in a really, really inspirational way, but also a real chance to change that perception, to put STEM careers in the construction industry at the top of children's choices, and indeed help teachers to understand what we can do for children and indeed their achievement, because we sure as hell can increase their grades. We can make maths real, we can make science real. So I think the main advice from me is don't see this as your own challenge. See this as something that you will have great fun with. You can enjoy it, really, really get involved and get everybody else involved. It's so important that the word gets out on this. I know that the UK industry has been asking for this sort of stuff for years and years and years. You give it to them and then they go, oh, no time for that. Yeah, we can see the point, but we don't have time. Make time. This is so important. Those kids will be your employees before you know it. So don't shout about we can't get talent. Get involved and grow your own.
Thanks, thanks, Alison. Yeah, and maybe just to reiterate a point too that Shane made there, in relation to the subject matter. The subject matter of the competition is design a home for everyone. This is not a competition designed just for house builders. We have designed it to ensure that all of our members, no matter what part of the construction sector you're in, you can get involved in. The purpose of the competition is to try and excite young people about the possibilities of the construction industry. Our research has shown that the level of knowledge of what the construction industry is and what it does, and the amount of complexity and the broad range of careers, that knowledge is very poor within, in some cases amongst teachers, but also among their students and indeed their parents. And we're hoping with this initiative that we can change that and light that spark among young people that the construction industry is an exciting industry, and it's an industry that they need to look at for potential career, whether they're interested in BIM or whether they're interested in surveying or engineering, quantity surveying, whatever it might be. From a construction industry perspective, we're just interested in lighting that spark. And that's what this is designed to do. So maybe just to kind of, what we might do now is just have a look at what is the competition? What are we asking schools to do? Hopefully I can share my screen with you here. No, I can't. Denise, can you share the brief? We have circulated this information to those teachers groups earlier this week, and we'll have an official launch at some point in the near future. Shane, do you want to maybe mention that?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me, Dermot. The 19th, we're going to launch with Minister O'Brien and potentially another minister in a school in their constituency, I'm sure, to launch. So there should be a social media kind of a campaign at that stage. And it's just worth noting that all of this, the competition and the careers promotion, is supported by the government, supported by the Department of Public Expenditure, Department of Education, the Project Ireland 2040 Delivery Board. So for the first time, there's a real alignment between government agencies and industry, you know, to really promote the industry as a career destination. Solus are involved as well. I should mention them, of course. And just Dermot, might just say, there's a questions facility or Q&A facility on the Zoom. So we're sorry you're in isolation there if you're watching in on us, but please fire questions at us. Start now. Don't be waiting, and we'll deal with them as we move along through the presentation. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Shane. Yeah, you should see on your screen there the brief that will be circulated to teams, and I suppose that's, maybe I need to step back a little bit, and the mechanism that we're hoping will be adopted, or it's designed to adopt, is that schools will put together teams of young people and enter those teams into the challenge. They'll be able to register their teams on our website, and I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. The purpose of them registering with us is that we want to understand how many teams are involved, and also therefore try and assist that engagement between our members and the teams. So Denise will be working away in the background trying to put together our members and people on this call with the teams that are registering. The closing date will be, I think it's February the 7th next year, and we've deliberately picked that because there's a big event coming up in March, COVID willing, I suppose, in the RDS called the Ireland Skills Competition, and we'd hope that at that point we'll be able to announce winners and bring people to that event, all going well. But if I just briefly maybe go through, and I'll call in maybe Alison and Shane just to comment on this as we go. Our research has indicated that housing and the availability of housing, sustainability and affordability are key things that young people are interested in, and they're obviously in the media. So therefore we built our competition around that, and it's called Design a Home for Everyone. So it's called Design a Home as opposed to a house for particular reasons. So this is the challenge that's been set for the teams to design a house. What we're doing, I suppose, we're advising them that the construction industry is everywhere. It's around them everywhere, whether they know it or not. The road that they travel to school, the school that they build, that they're going to school in, the hospital that they passed, the airport that they passed. All of those are infrastructure and elements that were designed and constructed by the construction sector, and try to excite them about that. So we're setting out the challenge here. We're asking them to design a house for everyone. Alison, do you want to maybe have a comment on that?
Certainly, thanks, Dermot. Yeah, so I think the main thing around the home, I mean, Dermot's absolutely right. The reason why we've particularly chosen this competition, and certainly the theme for this competition, is that everybody's been at home for quite a long time, not just with the summer holidays, obviously, that are well out of the way now, but also with COVID and lockdown and so on. And they may actually be in their homes for a lot longer as schools are going into local lockdowns and so on. But what we've given here is the young people to have a chance to look around their own home, look around the local communities and explore those local communities, because actually they probably aren't quite so aware, and particularly those of us who are, lucky enough to be, able-bodied and so on, and have no real challenges with physical or mental issues. Homes are for everyone, and we've tried to design this competition so that children can think not only of all the people who are in their community and who they might design for, but also thinking about the demand for housing, the fact that we need to be, have simple solutions. And they certainly, and this is where young people come in massively. You think of the Greta Thunberg effect. Children are interested in their planet. There's so much happening now than there was a decade ago when I started this. Sustainability is so important, not only to them because it's their planet, but also to us because we are a dirty industry. We know we've got to improve, and governments now, taking globally the initiative to actually drive sustainability through the housing and built environment. So the one thing that I suppose we should really start with actually is how to work with the school, because it's not always on the face of it so simple. I've been going into schools for a decade of building schools for future programs, and then another over a decade of doing exactly this. So the one thing that I want to place in everybody's minds, first of all, is think about safeguarding. Now, a lot of people, and I was the same, there's so many rules and regulations about safeguarding, about protecting children and so on, that you can actually become overwhelmed. And actually, it can be a barrier to your entry to a school, because we were afraid of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing, or compromising those rules and regulations. But don't forget that safeguarding actually is about protecting you as well. So the one thing to always make sure you do when you approach a school, and we absolutely encourage it, the rules are there to protect you, but they're not to stop you from going in. So I know with social media and everything else, don't assume that you can take a photograph. The best way to go about this is actually to, when you touch base with a teacher or the head teacher or whoever's leading on this, maybe the careers lead, best way is actually to ask teachers to take photographs and let them share those photographs with you, because there are obviously some children who may be singled out, who may have issues, who maybe have reasons for them not to be included. And we're also excited about being in the school, and we want to take those photographs. We can sometimes compromise the safety of children who, you know, might be under special protection, etc., or indeed just do not want their photographs in the media. So my best advice always is forget your mobile phone, forget your camera, just let the teachers do the job and ask them to share the photographs with you, because also it enables you to get on the photograph too, and which is lovely for marketing, PR. There's nothing nicer than a picture surrounded by children to kind of like inspire and so on. So that would be my first advice. And also, you know, offer a Zoom or a Teams chat, because some of you might not be able to actually physically go into school, and we absolutely encourage be there in person. But we know in these strange times that you can't always do that. So let the school coordinate those Zoom or Teams chat, or invite them to coordinate, because then at least that allows them to be responsible for their own safeguarding measures. They invite you in. There's always a teacher on the line at the same time. They control, you know, cameras on, cameras off, and so on and so forth. So let the school lead you, but make sure you have those conversations up front and agree the way that you're going to operate with a school before you go in or before you get on that Teams call. Just thinking about the brief, you know, whether you're a small house builder or you're a specialist consultancy, think about the contacts that you have in the wider environment. So, you know, you will definitely know architects and engineers, you'll know surveyors. You know, reach out to friends in the community, in our community, in the built environment. So even it doesn't matter how small you are, you can get involved. You always know people, but also don't forget about the people who are sort of, you know, the non-technical people within your firm. So, you know, part of this program will be ultimately about presenting work. You know, think about marketing and PR people. You know, I mean, Shane can probably put a really, really fantastic spin on a title or on a chunk of work that actually really sets it on fire, that, you know, lights a spark, makes it look really, really cool to read and understand. You know, thinking about the people who write your bids and present your bids. You know, this is, the children are actually submitting their entries effectively as choose my scheme. So think about how those people might get involved. And even HR, you know, HR can massively help the children understand the different roles and responsibilities of people involved in a construction project. So even your HR teams will come into their own here. And similarly, project managers, you know, these kids are going to have to manage their time, get the project done on time, make sure it's coordinated properly. So there's all sorts of people who can get involved. I think one of the biggest things for me, you know, that the thing here is space, because there are some rules that we've set. So it has to include 3 bedrooms, a bathroom and a kitchen. Yes, that might sound like a standard house to you and I, but a lot of kids will forget that. So drill home the rules. The biggest thing for me as a land surveyor is it has to fit on a 16 metre by 35 metre plot of land. Now, for most house builders, that's quite large, but we do want the children to have the space to be creative. So, you know, for example, they have to include a parking space. What is that parking space? Is it for a mini metro, or is it actually for a car that's going to have to take, you know, a wheelchair, for example? It needs a bigger drive, it needs bigger space, because, you know, there's nothing worse than, you know, I'm not going to name names with house builders, but that tiny drive and tiny garage that you get where you've got a wheelchair to sort out, or you need that space to, you know, help people physically. So it's not just enough to have a drive that fits a car, you need a drive that fits people and a car. What is 16 by 35 meters? What does it look like? Now, the biggest issue with young people is having a lack of spatial awareness. If you think about even when we were at school, I don't think it's changed much. When we saw the teacher draw a rectangle on the board to calculate the area, they would just simply write, they draw a rectangle, they might put a 6 and an 8 on the sides, on the length and the width. That is just so abstract for most children. 6 and 8 what? Feet, inches, centimeters, meters, millimeters. I mean, we throw all these different kind of mixed up measurements to them. So help them understand 16 by 35 meters. I'm a great advocate as a land surveyor. Get outside with them, get the tape measures out, tell them what a stride is, get them to measure the length of the stride and pace out what it is. Make sure they're turning 90 degrees to create a proper rectangle. So help them understand what that is. And in terms of the energy efficiency, get your building surveyor, building services engineers involved, get your facilities managers involved, because it's not just about the design, it's about a home that will be energy efficient for the lifetime of the house. You know, operations, maintenance, what's that going to look like? And indeed with the materials, you know, we talk about sustainable materials, but they've also got to be materials that can enable simplicity, you know, that's built easily, that's quickly. We've talked about off-site manufacturing, you know, could that be a way forward? But I think, again, one of the biggest issues, don't get too over technical. You know, some of these kids will have never, ever really had a dig down into what the built environment is. You know, they might draw a house still with that traditional square with a triangle on the top, 4 windows and a door. You know, help them understand that this is a technical industry, yes, and we are absolutely technological. So get your BIM guys involved, get your CAD designers involved, etc. But don't get over technical with them. And on the same vein, don't give too much away. This is a competition after all said and done. So please don't give them sort of, you know, war and peace about, well, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you will get this. This is about hints and tips. We want to generate creativity and innovation here. If you're giving them all the answers and they're just copying what you do in your workplace, we'll have 100 of the same designs. So please, you know, dangle carrots, give them some really, really juicy hints and tips, give them some expertise, but please don't get too over technical with them, because, you know, we can almost be in danger of turning them off. I think about your community benefits, people who work within the community. You know, we've got here with the locality, how does your home add to your community? So, you know, help the children to understand what community means, because one community will be different to another community. So those people who work within your community, get them to try and help understand the diversity of that community, the challenges that they might come across. You know, how big is a family and how many different families are there? Think about the elderly, think about the young, think about the very, very young. So help them understand what a community is. And in terms of technology, if they're using Minecraft, that's great. If they're using Revit or Bentley or something more advanced, that's great. But help them understand, you know, that technology needs to be, you know, it's more than just a graphic. So we can have a really, really cool design in Revit, for example, but if they've not articulated what that design is within a report, if they've not explained how this house works, you know, we're not wanting flash Harry, you know, super cool graphics and renders. We want to understand how their home works. So help them do that.
Alison, as a totally non-technical, non-construction, airy-fairy PR comms person, there's roles for people like me, or students like me, in this as well, in terms of presentations and, you know, how things are put together. And isn't that correct? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a role for everyone. You know, in the same way, this is a home for everyone. This is a competition for everyone. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I suppose it's worth pointing. I just flicked down a little bit there in the brief to some of the deliverables, and from that point, item number 1 is describe your construction project team and their roles and responsibilities. And that's a very important point, that we very much designed this as a team project, because construction is a team operation, and that's how it works. So we need to try and understand that. And as Shane indicated there, everybody doesn't have to be a surveyor. There are different roles, and we'd like them to explore that. And through the involvement of our companies, that they would explore that with them. What do engineers do? What do architects do? What do service engineers do? All of that type of thing, so that we can create that interest. As I say, I've just moved on in the brief there, which sets out some of the deliverables that we would be expecting to be delivered by the teams. Again, with discussions with the teachers, we know that the age profile that we're targeting best are well able to deliver this, and this is where maybe they show some of their creativity, such as I said there, number one, which is to do with the project team. So that'll give them an oversight of those who are involved, create a bubble diagram that meets the design brief, so outlining all the elements of the design brief. If I go back a little bit, Allison did indicate there some of the issues that we'd like them to address are simplicity. Can you build it easily? Can we look at the process and do it easier, and maybe on off-site construction, that type of question? Is that something that people need to investigate? We all know the discussions currently are going on in the industry about off-site construction. Sustainability. Again, our research shows that this age profile are very interested in the environment. They're interested in how they can influence change in that area. So this is a question that hopefully that would excite them. Accessibility, again, as Allison indicated, there's a vast array of different types of people and age profiles that use houses, so we need them to consider all of that. And if we look down further to items 3, we're going to ask them to create a series of drawings, so elevations, plans, etc. Those normal things that you'll see in any construction site. Then moving on to develop a digital or physical scale model. Again, we know that in schools currently, Allison mentioned the likes of Revit. Students are learning this technology, and therefore this gives them an outlet for that, a real outlet for what they're learning. And the last thing we want to do is produce a written report. So setting out what their thought lines and why they've done what they've done. So we believe this makes a great package for a team to work on, and for our members to get involved in. So some hints and tips, and that's, I suppose, again, where people who are on this call will come in, because that's where we want our members to get involved. And I just can't reiterate enough the fact that this is not a house builders, competition. It's a competition for members of the CIF who have a broad range of experience in construction, and we're not just focusing on that element. You see on the bottom there, if you need help, challenge at CIF, that'll land either on my desk or Shane's desk or Denise's desk. So we're here to help people and to get people involved. And finally, we just sign off there with just a piece.
And I just see one of the questions that's after coming in here is from Madeline Thornton. We are involved with a local school regarding apprenticeship recruitment, and we would do a presentation every year to recruit. After losing it now, could we use, or could we bring this competition brief, and pass it on to the students, and kind of that's exactly what we're trying to get you to do. If you currently have a relationship with a school, the next time you're going in, or if you have a contact in there, bring the brief, introduce the competition to the school, and encourage them to work through that. It's a recruitment tool in a way as well for the wider industry. And it's, if you've never approached your local school for recruitment or otherwise, now you have the perfect excuse and framework from which to do so. Alison, when we've been talking about this over the last while, sometimes you've really brought it alive for us, because you've said, a local school team kind of contacted their local politician to see where there was an actual plot of land. So, there was all these kind of innovative things that the kids will do to add to the competition. Are there any experiences that stand out for you, Alison?
On mute, Alison.
I need a young person to keep me on track here. Yeah, there's millions of stories, Shane. We'd be here all day. I mean, the thing that stick out in my mind so much with young people, I mean, you're absolutely right. I can remember sitting in a meeting when I did 3 years of research into education before I ever got started, and I did a lot of work with sort of the inner city schools in Manchester and Liverpool. And I can remember we've been talking about FM and sustainability and building services engineering and so on. And you know, I'll never forget the time when a 13-year-old lad sat there in this meeting with all these construction managers and architects and everything. It was one of those, you know, meet the team type things, kids get involved. And he said, yes, I have a question. I want to know why my school is only achieving BREEAM very good instead of BREEAM outstanding. And, you know, they want to know, they want to explore, you know, in terms of standards, they want to understand what is stopping us being more, you know, carbon zero, for example. There's the, you know, kids who've designed schools for Africa, you know, have got involved. And I remember one of our former competitions when we actually brought the head teacher from Uganda over to, he ended up coming to the offices of ARAP in London. And he cried in front of these 4 girls who'd won this last competition and said, this is the school I dream of. It was a really simple school, but my God, these girls realized it was that light bulb moment when they realized the built environment really, really changes lives, not just for us in the Western developed world, but also for people who have absolutely nothing. And interestingly, it's the International Year of the Girl Child, the UN Year of the Girl on Sunday. Who knew? I now know because I've got to write an article. And when we're talking about the lack of women or the lack of diversity, full stop, here's a massive opportunity again, because if we can plant the seed when these children are small, you know, when they are the teenagers, when they haven't made their formal choices about the workplace, and we can show them the incredible things that we do outside of that kind of, you know, down my street or in the city centre, then you can really, really, you know, harness their imagination. And before you know it, you know, we will put the construction industry on the top of the list for career choices for young people. So I am chuffed to bits to be involved in this. You know, it goes beyond just happy. It's a wonderful thing you guys are doing together. Members, seriously, you are the change this construction industry needs. That sounds so cliche, but you absolutely have to be the change because nobody else is going to do it for you.
Thanks, Alison. I'm just looking at some of the chat here on the slide here. Some of the questions coming in. If we are currently partnering with a school, do CIF a list of schools in the areas who've approached CIF expressing an interest? So we've this week circulated the brief to a broad range of teachers. They're now circulating it to their schools. So we'll be asking those schools to register, and I'll show you the website in a minute where schools will register. And if they don't have a partner, Denise will be looking for partners to join up with those schools. So we'll have an active role there to connect both members and schools once they start coming in. Maybe I'll just quickly have a look at the web page. See. Again, I'll just go to share screen. So I'd see a question there in relation to when will this released. It is released, and this web page is now live, cif.ie/CIF challenge. So it's now live and members can get involved immediately. If I just briefly scroll down, it very much reflects what we just indicated on the brief. A little bit more information, I suppose. As I said, teams can register online, and that's again to allow us to know how many are being involved, to give us that logistics to be able to put people together. So this sets out the challenge and some of the key points we've already mentioned, like simplicity, sustainability, accessibility, affordability, locality, technology. Obviously, we want teams to be imaginative here. We don't want them to come back, as Alison said, with the same answer for everything. Let's use imagination and let's see what can come back. So basic design information such as deliverables, design criteria, registering your team, submitting your entry, and some of the prizes. And if we just have a look at some of the prizes, we'd hope that these will excite people. So the winning entries will be rendered into virtual reality design, and the winning team will have a masterclass in the use of that equipment. We obviously, as Shane mentioned, we have the Minister for Housing involved, TUD, and so we'll be asking the winning organisation or the winning team to make a presentation. The school themselves will win a prize sponsored by Topcon, and finally a CIF will be launching their scholarship and apprenticeship placement initiative. And already the comments coming back from teachers is that that's a major attraction for young people. So that's, I think we're not just offering a laptop here, we're offering more that, and hopefully it'll keep people connected with the industry once we've run it through. So, and finally then register your team. So this, to answer that question, it's live, it's out there now. We'll facilitate it any way we can. But I know Alison mentioned there about going into schools, and obviously with COVID-19, that's not possible, but technology is amazing. There's whatever, a number of us online here, and we can use Zoom, Teams, whatever to connect with schools. And maybe a virtual site visit is something that can be arranged that may not have been contemplated before, but now is possible to get young people interested and see what actually happens on site.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And we've kind of left it from a member perspective loose so that you can engage with the school about the brief. But if you want to organize presentations for the final team, you know, a local presentation, whether they win nationally or not, you know, there was a presentation element to some of the competitions Allison has done in the past. Just a small thing as well, you might engage with a school and find that, you know, the technology isn't there, you know, to design something, you know, online, and that's okay as well, you know, because we're accepting written briefs and drawings and so on. We can't be seen, or we can't in material fact, you know, prejudice against any school. In fact, quite the opposite if they don't have the relevant technology. So as Dermot is saying, you have a great scope to be creative in how you engage as well. A virtual site visit is a great idea. A virtual Zoom to all the children who are at home, who are going to be taking a longer midterm break. I just have read in the paper there to deal with COVID. So parents will be happy that there's some activities for them to do. And look, if there's any kind of feedback from teachers saying, construction, it's not really relevant to our school children. This might happen in girls' schools. Okay, so look, if the kids never come to the construction industry and they do this project, they'll have learned teamwork, they'll have learned maths, they'll have learned about social value, they'll have learned about planning, logistics, you know, they'll have learned teamwork. So all of these skills are valid whether they're construction interested or not. So that's a key strength to promote if you are facing any kind of queries or questions, you know. We'll put all this in a pack as well, which we'll launch out to you in the coming days as well. So it'll be a checklist of what to think and consider and a couple of ideas. And already I see that someone from Flynn has asked us. We're based in Cabra-Fingal, Glasnevin, so we know where Flynn are located now. We'll talk to the techno teachers and to the TUI to see if there's a school in the area or even a teacher in the area interested in this area, and we'll try and connect Flynn to that teacher. So for anyone else listening in, if that's your scenario, contact us and we'll try and matchmake in the coming weeks.
And can I just add there, I've spoken to a lot of you on the call already and you have put your name forward, so thank you, and we will be getting in touch. Now, if you haven't put your name forward, please do give me a call at my email, dtuffy@cif.ie or challenge@cif.ie. Now, a question has come in from Debbie, and it's what age group are we targeting with the competition? So it's senior cycle second level, so 4th year, 5th year and 6th year. More than likely it'll be transition years that will have the time to take it up. Can individual students get involved if their school is not? of course they can. Generally, it's done through the schools. But if a team decides that they want to do it and have no involvement with teachers, we'll be delighted to help them from the CIF side. So do get in touch if your school is not doing it. So thank you.
I think we've probably come to the end of that. I think all the questions and answers that questions that have come in have been addressed. We're obviously here to answer any questions, and as Denise indicated there, she's given you the emails that are relevant. We will have a more official launch of this. I think it's probably next week after the budget, Shane. So we'll have, as mentioned earlier, the Minister for Housing is involved. So that'll be a high-profile launch. So hopefully that's given you food for thought. I think this is a great opportunity for our members to engage with schools, and they're waiting for it. They know it's there. There is an appetite for it. Teachers are interested. So all we need now to do is make it a success. So at that, I think we'll sign off. And as I say, if you need any further information, you can respond back to the CIF at that. And I say that our webpage is now live. So with that, unless anybody wants to say anything else, we'll close. Thanks to Shane, thanks to Denise, thanks to Allison, and thanks to everybody who stayed with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.